Now, doctor, did you form an opinion to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty as to whether or not the defendant was suffering from a mental disease or defect at the time she killed her children?
I did, yes.
And what is that opinion?
That opinion is yes, she was. She was experiencing bipolar II disorder, depressive symptoms, and there were other things that were exacerbating that, making it worse. One is the sleep problems and probably the continued adverse reactions to medication and so on. But yes, in my opinion, she did have a mental disease or defect on January 24th.
And doctor, to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty, did you form an opinion as to whether or not the defendant appreciated the criminality or wrongfulness of her conduct when she killed her children?
I did, yes. And I'm at the end of my report, I was very careful about how I phrased this, and so
sustained. If you could just answer the question regarding your opinion.
So yes, you formed an opinion?
I did, yes.
And what is that opinion?
That opinion is that she retained an awareness of the illegality of killing others, including killing her children. Her moral awareness of the wrongfulness of this killing was influenced by her strong desire to die and, if she were dead, not to leave her children behind. Some of this perception was realistic. For example, my children will suffer without me because they would have suffered, I think. And some of it was distorted. For example, nobody else can care for my children. But her awareness of the illegality and moral wrongfulness of such killing is best appraised by understanding these acts as a serious suicide attempt combined with altruistic filicide, killing her children out of love, rather than as a response to command hallucinations.
And did you form an opinion to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty as to whether Ms. Clancy was able to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law when she killed her children?
Yes.
And what is that opinion?
That her capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law is again best understood by considering the seriousness of her suicide attempt and her strong desire not to leave her children. She demonstrated such self-control throughout the day on January 24th, and her actions between 5:15 and 6 p.m. that afternoon were influenced by her depression and her hopelessness about her life and the desire to end the pain she had experienced since October. Although this depression and hopelessness influenced her decisions, she retained control over whether, when, and how she carried it out, and the inclusion of her children.
And doctor, did you form an opinion to a reasonable degree of psychological certainty as to whether or not the defendant was criminally responsible when she killed her children?
Yes.
And what is that opinion?
My opinion, my clinical opinion, since I'm not the decision maker here, but my clinical opinion is that she was criminally responsible on January 24th.
Thank you.
Should the courts coerce offenders into substance abuse treatment? Is there one article, one, that you wrote about a woman who is pregnant, who is undergoing postpartum depression, and God forbid, psychosis?
No.
But you did write an article 49 years ago. You published an article on psychosis in 1977 with your dad before, well, you were in college apparently, right? Right?
Yeah, I was his
so
research assistant at that time when I was in college, yes.
Okay. And this is before you entered graduate school, and you used the diagnostic framework that no longer exists, didn't you, back then?
It was a long time ago.
Right. And actually, it was 3 years before the DSM was even written. DSM-1, back in the Stone Age.
It was a while ago.
That's the only article you ever wrote dealing with that issue. Is that correct, sir?
Dealing with what issue, sir?
Postpartum psychosis.
Ah. Yes.
Does I mean yes? Thank you. Doctor, if Ms. Clancy had a genuine command hallucination, which in fact did cause her to feel compelled to carry out the killing of her children
Yes.
and herself. Would you agree that she lacks substantial capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law? If in fact that was a genuine command hallucination that she believed?
That would depend on a number of things. It would depend, for example.
Let's not go through a number of things. So your answer is no?
And my answer would be it depends.
Okay, so it depends.
Next question.
Would you agree, sir, that in December of 2022, and she told you that at that time frame she had these thoughts that were in her head that would, quote, pop into her head, intrusive thoughts that included that her brain was damaged and that she had to kill herself? And she told you that, right?
She did.
Do you believe that she was telling you the truth, sir?
Yes.
I stand corrected in one regard, sir. This morning I started off my questions by asking you about 49 years ago when you published an article on postpartum psychosis, and you agreed. You were in college or something. But in fact, it was not postpartum psychosis. It was about schizophrenia, wasn't it?
I'd have to think back 49 years, but I think that's right. Yes.
You were transcripts of interviews with 32 schizophrenic patients, 15 male, 17 female, all with primary or secondary paranoid symptomology, were edited only to delusion-relevant material. Does that refresh your memory, sir?
It does.
Okay, so it wasn't postpartum psychosis. You've never written about postpartum psychosis, right?
That's right.
Okay. Couple of things. Sir, first of all, counsel was asking you a question about the inconsistent statement or what have you. You indicated, sir, if I stand corrected, you administered a test, the MMPI, to her, right?
Yes, I did.
And one of the subcategories.
On the scope.
No, she asked about inconsistent statements.
No, yeah, overall.
Is the K scale or the lie scale, right? Yes or no? Just please, yes or no?
The MMPI does have a K scale.
Okay.
And it
And
does
that
have an
measures-
L scale.
That measures if a person, to you as the administering psychologist, is bluntly lying, right?
No.
Okay. Does it also, in your testing, determine if the person is exaggerating their symptoms?
Yes, it's much
Okay, the answer is
closer
yes.
to
The
that.
answer is yes, thank you. And when you administered the test to Lindsay, close to 3 years later, you indicated that it was the fact that it was late that you administered the test. It was testing her at the time it was administered, right?
That's right.
And one of the things that, the results, by the way, if I understand, looking at your transcript of testimony, is regardless of all of your explanations about MMPI and the other psychological testing, she was not elevated on anything except for suicide scale, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So she wasn't, according to the testing you administered when you saw her with Mac, exaggerating, lying, malingering, anything like that, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And one of the things that you did in your report, sir, is regarding the lying or the malingering, is you made reference to, I believe, Dr. Resnick, Philip Resnick. You know him, right?
I do.
He's a significant authority in the field of filicide. Is that right?
He is.
And Dr. Resnick indicated, sir, that his opinion as to the lack of malingering, and, as well as yours, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And you made reference to one of Dr. Resnick's articles, actually, in your report, correct?
Some of his research on...
The answer is yes? We can make this easy. The answer is yes? Did you look at and cite Dr. Philip Resnick's research report?
His research, yes, I
Okay.
did.
And are you aware, sir, that what you cited is outdated? Are you familiar with the 2012 article by Dr. McCarthy Jones collaborating with Dr. Resnick talking about the largest study of hallucinations ever conducted in the world?
I'm aware that as a researcher, you build on some of the
No,
things.
not what researchers do. Are you aware of that report?
No.
Okay. Are you aware, sir, that that study was after the report that you cited in your report, and it involved 191 individuals who were asked almost 400 questions about auditory hallucinations? You aware of that?
No.
And are you aware, sir, that in fact it was determined that auditory hallucinations can come from within and it can come from without in that report? You're not aware of that, right?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Only other thing, there's been a lot of talk about how you had to wait, took a while, you had to get court orders to visit with Lindsay to conduct your investigation, right?
Yes.
Okay. You're not suggesting or trying to leave with this jury that it was me or my office that interfered or impeded. I think the question was that you were unable to see her. I had nothing to do with that, right?
Objection. No sidebar.
No.
Yeah, come on. Almost?
No.
All right, thank you, Doctor. You may sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So Ms. Clancy stated to me and some other evaluators that her hallucination, that of an external voice, something coming from outside of her head, occurred when she was standing at the refrigerator. She said that she was in the process of making her children their dinner when she received a call from Patrick Clancy, returned the call, and then as soon as she finished the call with Patrick Clancy, she said that is when she heard the voice. This is your last chance. You have to kill your kids and then kill yourself. And so that was what she told a number of us. There are also other accounts that she made to individuals that were quite a bit different. To Dr. Spinelli, for example, she said that the voice happened at 5:10 or 5:15 p.m. as soon as Patrick Clancy left on his errands, and that the voice. She described the voice to Dr. Spinelli as increasing in intensity, but saying, "This is your last chance. You have to kill your kids before you kill yourself." But also that it was that her children would suffer if she did not do that. When I asked her about the voice that she heard, again, she said that it started really right after the telephone call at 5:34 with her husband, Patrick. And she said it was a man's voice. It was very clear. It was external. In other words, it came from outside of her head. That it was constant. So this phrase, "This is your last chance. You have to kill your kids and then kill yourself," was something that was repeated over and over and over and over again during that period that she strangled her children. And then just as soon as it started, it stopped at when she had finished killing the children, strangling the children.
Doctor, was there anything about what she reported to you about the voice that was significant to you in your evaluation, and if so, why?
Well, what was significant to me is that she had not spoken about hearing voices before that in any of the mental health professionals, the psychiatrists, the nurse practitioners, the physicians and staff in the emergency departments or at McLean. And so this was the first time that she reported that was documented, but also that she experienced an auditory hallucination, according to what she told me. So that was unusual. And then also, what was very unusual was the fact that the voice stopped with the death of, or the strangling of her youngest son, Callan, and that she went upstairs and then proceeded to engage in behavior in an effort to kill herself, but that the voice had stopped as soon as she had strangled her last Callan, her youngest child.
I could stop you there for a moment and ask you, you said that it's unusual that this was the first time that she had heard this voice. Why is that unusual?
Well, she had certainly suffered with symptoms of mental illness, depression and anxiety, most specifically. Anxiety that she had reported to Dr. Tufts in mid-September, and then certainly symptoms that later on included suicidal ideation and also what she said were dark or intrusive thoughts to harm her children that she mentioned to her husband and her mother on, I think, 2 occasions. And
Doctor, you also mentioned that it was unusual that the voice stopped after Callan was killed. Why is that unusual?
Well, I've worked with, compared to other patients that I've treated who have had command auditory hallucinations.
I'm going to object to that, Your Honor. Same objection that was raised before.
Counsel, I see it.
Doctor, based on your training and experience in dealing with diagnosing and treating people who have psychosis and what you've learned in all your training and schooling, is it typical for someone in psychosis to hear a voice only one time, never before, never after?
No.
And again, based on your training and experience, is it typical for someone in psychosis to hear a voice that's constant rather than intermittent?
No, that is not typical.
And what does it mean, the difference between a constant voice and an intermittent voice?
Well, an intermittent voice would come and go. It wouldn't necessarily just keep playing over and over again as if it were on a tape, which Ms. Clancy told me that it was a voice. It's the same thing in the same tone, repeated over and over and over until she had strangled Callan.
And is it typical, based on your training and experience, for someone to hear command hallucinations and then for them to stop abruptly?
No. Committing the act is not curative of the voice. I've not ever seen that.
And doctor, based on your training experience, someone in psychosis hearing a voice without accompanying delusions, is that typical?
That would be pretty rare. It's absolutely not typical.
Talking to Ms. Clancy, did you speak to her about the concerns she had that if she had voiced thoughts of harming her children to providers, medical providers, that her children would have been taken away?
Yes.
And did you see that as a delusional thought?
No. Certainly with the requirements that healthcare professionals have to report any issues that could cause harm to children, for example, as required reporters, it's very rational for her to be concerned that by voicing her thoughts of harm could cause her children, certainly an assessment and a rapid assessment and a determination about how best to keep the children safe. So I didn't see that as irrational, but rather rational, just understanding the healthcare system.
And when reviewing the records and speaking to Ms. Clancy, did you see or notice any delusional statements or beliefs surrounding the hearing of that voice on the 24th?
No, I didn't.
Now, based on your training experience, is it typical for someone in psychosis to hear a voice and immediately act on it?
No.
And why is that?
I'd like to have a Dobia hearing at this point, Judge, on this. I'd like to test his qualifications to this.
I'm going to, same objection, same ruling.
So your opinion is it's not typical, correct?
Correct.
Now, you mentioned the defendant told you that when she received the call from her husband at 5:33 and called him back at 5:34, that she was getting dinner ready for her children, correct?
Yes.
And did she tell you what she was about to get out of the refrigerator?
Yes. She said she was at the refrigerator and that the refrigerator door was open and that she was getting chicken nuggets out of the refrigerator section for her children.
Now, in your collateral interview with Patrick Clancy, did you learn from him that when he left the residence, the children were already eating chicken nuggets on the couch?
Yes.
And did Patrick Clancy tell you that Dawson in particular was eating chicken nuggets and green beans out of a bowl on the couch?
Yes, that's what he told me.
And is it fair to say that there are crime scene photographs showing a bowl on the couch?
Yes.
And so is there any significance to you in the defendant telling you that when she got the phone call from Patrick, when he's at CVS, that she's making chicken nuggets versus Patrick and telling you that that had already happened and the crime scene photos showing you the bowl was already on the couch?
Well, it's inconsistent.
And are inconsistencies like that important in your evaluations in cases like this?
Yes.
And how so?
Well, looking at someone's mental status at the time of an offense, it's important to understand what was going on in their mind at the time. And in this case, the widely divergent reports from Lindsay Clancy versus her husband Patrick raised questions about what she is telling me and how things are happening. So certainly that's a cause for significant concern. One of them is not correct in their statement.